Hello students, welcome to the another session of environmental science. In this session, we are going to learn about the grassland ecosystem part 3. I am Utkar Suryavanshi, Assistant Professor at AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, Pune. So let us understand the objectives of the session. First, grassland and climate change. Second, importance of grassland ecosystem. Third, conservation of grassland ecosystem. Fourth, threats to grassland ecosystem. And fifth, the summary of grassland ecosystem. So let us understand this objective in much detail. First, grassland and climate change. Climate change, as the name suggests, has profound impact on grassland ecosystem. These impacts are multifaceted and interconnected. It affects everything from plant growth to species interaction and as well as ecosystem services. Below are the key points to discuss under this heading. First, temperature change. Second, precipitation patterns. Third, extreme weather events. Fourth, carbon sequestration. Fifth, species distribution and composition. Sixth, phenological changes. Seventh, ecosystem services. And eighth, adaptation and mitigation strategies. Let us go through each point in detail. First one, temperature changes. Rising temperatures. Global temperatures are increasing, leading to hotter conditions in many grassland regions. This can stress native plant species, alter their growth patterns, and increase evapotranspiration rates as well. Shifts in growing seasons. Warmer temperature may extend growing season, but can also cause heat stress during critical growth periods for many grassland plants and species. Second, the precipitation pattern. We all have noticed the changes in rainfall patterns. Climate change can lead to alterations in precipitation patterns, with some grassland experiencing more intense and frequent droughts, while others may see increased rainfall as well. Impact on the water availability is also a major issue. Shift in precipitation affect soil moisture levels, impacting the plant growth and water availability for animals as well. Next heading under this will be extreme weather events. First one will be the increased frequencies of extremes. More frequent and severe weather events such as drought, heat waves, and heavy storms can lead to habitat degradation and increase mortality for plant and animals. Fire regimes. Changes in weather patterns can alter the frequency and intensity of fire, which are natural part of many grassland ecosystem. Increased fire frequency can disrupt ecological balances and recovery process. Next will be carbon sequestration. The role of carbon cycle. Grassland act as a significant carbon sinks, storing carbon in their biomass and soils. Climate change can affect their capacity by influencing plant productivity and organic matter decomposition rates as well. The feedback mechanism also changes in carbon sequestration, and the climate system are potentially accelerating the climate change as well. Next will be species distribution and composition. Shift in species range. Altered climatic condition may force some species to migrate to another more suitable habitats, leading to changes in species composition and community structure. Invasive species also affect and facilitate the species spread of invasive species. It can outcompete native grassland flora and fauna and also disrupt the ecological ecosystem balances. Next point will be phenological changes, the timing of biological events. Climate change can affect the timing of phenological events such as flowering, breeding, and migration, leading to mismatch between the species and their environment. It also impacts the role of pollinators. Change in flowering times can affect pollinator species, which are very crucial for reproduction of many grassland plants. Next will be ecosystem services. Provisioning services such as climate change impact on grassland can affect provisioning services like forage for livestock, medicinal plants, and biomass production. Regulating services such as water filtration, erosion control, and climate regulation through carbon storage can alter the climatic and influence the various services as well. Next will be adaptation and mitigation strategies. Various conservation practices such as protecting critical habitats, restoring degraded areas, and promoting sustainable land management practices can help mitigate climate change impacts. Adaptive management. Developing an adaptive management plan that incorporate climate projection and monitoring data can enhance the resilience of grassland ecosystem to climate change. Now let us understand the second objective will be the importance of grassland ecosystem. Grassland ecosystem plays a critical role or crucial role in the environment as well as in human society. Main points which we are going to discuss under this heading will be biodiversity support, soil health and fertility, water regulation, erosion control, climate regulation, provisioning services, cultural and recreational value, and ecosystem resilience. First one will be the biodiversity support. Habitat for species. The grassland provide habitat for wide variety of plant and animals as well as microorganisms. These include numerous species of grasses, wildflower, birds, mammals, insects, and reptiles. The diverse flora and fauna of grassland contribute to the genetic diversity of ecosystem as well. It is very much essential for ecosystem resilience and adaptability. Next point will be soil fertility and health. Nutrient cycling. Grassland play a vital role in nutrient cycling, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, which maintains soil fertility and support plant growth as well. Soil structure like grassroot helps maintain soil structure, prevent erosion, and promote water infiltration and retention. Next will be water regulation. Water infiltration. Grassland enhance water infiltration into the soil, which replenishes groundwater supplies and reduces surface runoff. By improving the soil structure and water infiltration, grassland help mitigate the impact of flooding. Next will be erosion control. Prevention of soil erosion. The dense root system of grasses help in binding of the soil, preventing erosion caused by wind and water. It also maintains the land productivity. By preventing soil loss, grassland helps the productivity of land for agriculture and other uses. Next will be climate regulation. Microclimate regulation. Grassland influence local microclimate by moderating temperatures, humidity, and wind patterns. Regional climate impact. Large grassland areas can affect regional climate patterns, including precipitation and temperature regulation. Next will be provisioning services. Grassland provide forage for domesticated animals such as cattle, sheep, and goats, supporting livestock production and agriculture. It also contributes to the medicinal plants. Many grassland plants have medicinal properties and are used in traditional and modern medicine practices. Next will be cultural and recreational value. Cultural significance. Grassland hold the cultural and spiritual significance for many indigenous and local communities who rely on them for their way of life and cultural practices. Grassland offer a wide range of recreation and tourism activities such as hiking, bird watching, wildlife safaris, and also contribute to the local economies. Next will be ecosystem resilience. Grassland are ecosystem resilient that can recover from disturbance such as fire and grazing, maintaining a swift ecological balance. It also buffer against the climate change and extreme events, helping to stabilize the ecosystem and human communities. Now let us understand the next topic, which will be the conservation of grassland ecosystem. Effective conservation strategies are essential to protect and restore these vital ecosystems. Some of these are protected areas and reserves, sustainable land management, restoration and rehabilitation, invasive species control, fire management, community involvement and indigenous knowledge, policy and legislation, research and monitoring. First one will be the protected areas and reserves. All over the world we have established various kind of protected area such as national parks, national reserves, protected landscape to conserve biodiversity and ecosystem. Implementing effective management plan that can include monitoring, patrolling and regulation of activities to ensure the integrity of protected areas. Next will be sustainable land management. In this, first one will be the grazing management. Implementing sustainable grazing practices to prevent overgrazing such as rotational grazing, setting appropriate stocking rates and allowing recovery periods for vegetation. Next will be agroecological practices. Integrating agroecological principles in farming practices such as intercropping, agroforestry and organic farming to maintain ecosystem health and productivity. Next, restoration and rehabilitation. Various restoration projects to rehabilitate degraded grassland systems include reseeding native grass, controlling invasive species, and restoring natural fire regimes. Soil restoration enhances the soil health through practices like adding organic matter, reducing soil compaction, and using erosion control measures. Invasive species control. We have to monitor and manage the regulated monitoring of invasive species and measures such as mechanical removal, biological control, and targeted herbicide application. Various preventive measures like establishing protocols to prevent the introduction and spread of invasive species include quarantine measures and public awareness campaign. Next one will be fire management. Control burns. Using control burns or prescribed fires to mimic natural fire regimes helps in maintaining grassland health by promoting native species and reducing fuel loads. Fire breaks and prevention has been created and implementing fire prevention strategies to protect grassland from uncontrolled fires. Community involvement and indigenous knowledge. Engaging local communities in conservation efforts includes decision making, management activities, and benefit sharing to ensure sustainable outcomes. Leveraging indigenous knowledge helps in incorporating traditional knowledge and practices of indigenous people who have sustainably managed grassland for various generations. Policy and legislation. Developing and enforcing policies and legislation has helped grassland conservation, such as land use planning, habitat protection laws, and sustainable agriculture policies. Providing incentives and subsidies for conservation practices such as payment for ecosystem services, conservation easement, and tax break for sustainable land use. Next one will be research and monitoring. There is a lot of ecological research which is happening throughout the world to understand grassland dynamic, species interaction, and impact of threats like climate change and land use change. You have to use the term long-term monitoring in order to track ecosystem health, species population, and effectiveness of conservation intervention. Now let us understand the last point of this session, which will be the threats to grassland ecosystem. First one will be the habitat loss and fragmentation, climate change, pollution, unsustainable agriculture practices, fire suppression, overexploitation of resources, loss of biodiversity. The first one will be habitat loss and fragmentation. Agricultural expansion has led to conversion of grassland into agricultural lands for crop production, livestock raising, which reduces the area of natural grassland. The urbanization and infrastructural development for the expansion of cities, roads, and other infrastructure lead to fragmentation and loss of grassland habitat. Next one will be the climate change. The temperature and precipitation change has altered the climate patterns that can affect the grassland productivity, species composition, and water availability, leading to increased vulnerability to droughts and extreme weather events. Increased frequency of fire has resulted in more frequent intense fire, disrupting the natural fire regimes that many grassland depends on. Pollution, a runoff containing pesticide, herbicides, and fertilizers can contaminate the soil and water, affecting the plant and animal health. The industrial pollution has led to emissions and waste from industrial activities in soil and air, impacting the grassland ecosystem. Unsustainable agriculture practices like monocropping and soil depletion. Practices such as monocropping and inadequate soil management can degrade soil health and reduce the grassland productivity and resilience. Overuse of chemical fertilizer and pesticides can harm soil microorganism and biodiversity as well. Next will be fire suppression, disruption of natural fire cycle. Suppressing natural fires can lead to accumulation of plant material, increasing the risk of severe wildfires and altering plant communities composition. Or exploitation of resources, harvesting of plants and animals. Over harvesting of grassland plant for medicinal, ornamental or commercial purposes, as well as hunting of grassland animals can reduce biodiversity and ecosystem health. Loss of biodiversity. Habitat loss, pollution and other threats can lead to decline in plant and animal species diversity, affecting the ecosystem stability and function. Now let us summarize the topic. Grassland ecosystems are significantly affected by climate change, which brings changes in temperature and precipitation patterns. Grasslands are vital for maintaining biodiversity, supporting a wide variety of plant and animal species. They play a very crucial role in water regulation, preventing the soil erosion, and supporting the agricultural productivity by providing forage for livestock. Addressing climate change through adaptive management and promoting ecosystem services valuation are key to ensuring the long-term sustainability of grassland. Effective conservation strategies are needed to address these threats and to protect the grassland ecosystem. Thank you.